Soul of Africa.
This year. This year. I speak it, I claim it, I walk in it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I know they guess my future. I they declare word from my mouth. Heaven they back 'em. This year no be random. I got program. Every single step they follow his plan. I know they move by fear, I move by faith. Anything will oppose me, yes by a break. From the first day to the final day. This year they answer to my mandate.
This year,
I rise in power.
this year,
I walk in favor.
this year.
No delay, no fear. Everything aligned.
Everybody. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I think Dr. Olayoku should start and then I introduce the panelists.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. We're happy to have you join us for this special edition, which is a partnership between a special edition of the webinar. There's a partnership between the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Ibadan, and the West African Transitional Justice Center. This is something that touches the core of what we do at our own center, also at Department of Theatre Arts, given that we feel that there are some often neglected aspects of the social well-being of the entertainment industry that are not often in the spotlight when we talk about inclusivity, social justice, and allied issues today. There are often some things that we take for granted that we think that we need to spotlight. And that's why we're collaborating with the Department of Theatre Arts. Of course, Dr. Adeolu from Music is also here with us to try to showcase how the well-being and mental health of performing artists are not being taken care of enough. And so we're privileged to have some experts to help us discuss in details what this entails so that we can chart the way forward. So without further ado, we would like to hand over the platform to the moderator of the webinar, Dr. Stephen-Adesina, to take it away, like they say. Sorry for the language.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Professor Samuel, it's nice to have you here. And our panelists. First, I'd like to introduce Morne Steyn. He's a practitioner scholar of body, mind, and voice, as well as acting studies lecturer at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. Center on at the Department of Center for Theatre, Dance, and Performance Studies. His artistic research practice puts forward a sensuous approach to knowledge. It senses Soma Senate experiences located in the Black Archive. He uses body and voice as modes of inquiry toward exploring the insurgent nature of Black subjectivities as sites of memory, epistemic continuity, and archival inheritance. Through performance, sonic memory, and embodied practice, his work cultivates a multisensory archive which seeks both ontological and epistemic regeneration. Morne Steyn is a certified lesser kinesthetic body voice facilitator and trainer. He is a sitting board member of the LESAC Training and Research Institute, USA, where he is also currently a Master Teacher Certification Program candidate. Morne is a certified yoga teacher and a lifelong student, as well as a registered somatic movement educator, SMARTA. We welcome you here, Morne, would like you to say hello before I
Hi,
introduce others.
hi everybody. Thank you, Abimbola. It's wonderful to
Wow, you're
be.
looking so handsome. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So we also have with us um, Dr. Adeolu Ogunsanya. He holds a Master of Arts and a PhD in African music from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. One of his research interests is the intercultural use of traditional musical instruments, especially the Yoruba dundun, talking drum in music performances. A skilled multi-instrumentalist, he is a leader of the Aditu. I'm sure I said that right. Professor Dr. Ogunsanya, did I say it right? Aditu. All right. It's a jazz plus, a band which specializes in
The
Afro
name is
jazz.
Aditu.
Aditu, okay, Aditu. All right,
It's
Aditu, Jazz
a
Plus. A
Yoruba
band.
word for mystery.
Oh, okay. Or like something you can unravel.
Yeah.
Oh, good. A band which specializes in Afro jazz, high life, and other neo traditional popular music genres. He currently teaches in the Department of Music at the University of Ibadan, where he instructs courses such as Rudiments and Theory of Music, Performance Workshop, as well as Orchestration, Theory, and African Music for undergraduate students. He is also a member of the Association of Nigerian Musicologists, ANIM, the Society of Music Educators in Nigeria, SOMEN, Music Mind Heritage Foundation, and the International Council for Traditional Music and Dance. We welcome you, sir, to this platform.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bimbo. And I'm very happy to be here. It's a pleasure meeting all famous names that I know in the scholarly world. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, sir. And the last panelist is our young, vibrant Kasope Owoaje. She's also one of the most exciting young executives rising through the ranks of the African music business today, currently serving as label manager and A&R at Mother Africa Reigns Supreme, Mars. Kasope operates at the intersection of operational excellence and creative discovery, a mentee of industry pioneer Wales Davis. She plays a pivotal role in the machinery behind legendary alternative duo Show Them Camp. Beyond day-to-day management, Kasope is a passionate advocate for equity in music. She is a key member of the team Driving Thames, leading Vibe Initiative, a platform dedicated to supporting the next wave of female artists. Driven by a philosophy of moving conversations into action and impact, Kasope is focused on helping incredible neo soul alternative artists move from anonymity into the spotlight by providing them with critical resources and knowledge. A strong, passionate executive with a clear vision for the future. Kasope Owoaje is undeniably one to watch as she continues to shape the infrastructure of African music. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Kasope Owoaje.
Thank you so much for having me. That was an incredible.
I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled. Yeah. So without wasting too much of our time, I think I'll give the mic back to Filippo. Filippo, do you want to start up the program?
No, I think we've started already. It's just
All
for
right.
the panelists to give us their presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. So yes, I think we'll give it up first to Morne. Morne, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Abimbola. I just want to say before I begin, it's incredible introductions, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and to engage in further conversation about this topic. And thank you for inviting me, Dr. Stephen Abimbola, Dr. Abimbola, as I know you. So, everybody, as I was preparing for this presentation, I wondered from which angle and what to share and how to share what I have prepared today. But I think to first start, I made some contextual remarks, and then I hope we could, once we engage in conversation later on, we can unpack these a little bit more. Of course, in South Africa, where I am located and currently working at the Center for Theatre, Dance and Performance Studies here in Cape Town, South Africa, there is a lot of talk, a lot of conversation around the well-being, the incorporation of mindfulness, breath work, and as recent as the last 7 years, conversations around engaging with African or at least Southern African indigenous practices towards the well-being of students and also at large professional creative artists. I think at the outset, I want to say, although all these attempts are always very noble, I think as far as policy making is concerned, these regulations or tools don't really manifest themselves as actively as one would want. And it's with that at the back of our minds that I would just like to share a few thoughts. And I always think when I engage with artists professionally or students, I think much like we tell our students, awareness is important and is a pathway to making change or creating new choices. These invitations must also first be accepted by us as educators, theatre makers of somatics, embodiment, mindfulness, be it the voice, however you situate yourself in the creative and the performing artist. So from my point of view, and through our monist lens, there shouldn't be a separation between the body and the mind. The one is within and because of the other. And for me, human beings are multimodal, body-minded beings who developmentally become and are always continuously becoming due to the given interrelationship between themselves, which I loosely refer to as the inner environment, and then the environment, which I loosely refer to as the outer environment, where they encounter or find themselves as people. And these are also sometimes I've referred to in some other scholarly work of mine as subject and object relationships of the artist, the student that we work with. But oftentimes where wealth and health, well-being falls out of control, I would say, is when directors or educators don't know how to navigate the subject-objective relationships of students or creatives at large. And then the second point I want to highlight is there is no hierarchy or should be no hierarchy between the various systems within the body-mind itself. The functions of and the interactions between the systems in the body are informed by the navigation between the above-mentioned process, as I said, where the inner and the outer, through this continuous process, allows for the subjective formation of an individual to be ever emerging. And then, of course, in South Africa, and I'm sure in Nigeria and the world at large, the outer, the environment, is always entangled, and it's complex, and it's multifaceted. It is the layer where the geopolitical and the socio-cultural spectrums cannot be ignored. So, although the humanly congruent plasticity is always impacted by these entanglements, we must allow for people's situatedness in the process of theatre making to be expressed and to be given an opportunity to be expressed. So perhaps it is apt to mention here that the body politics of knowing, sensing, and understanding is really important, at least in South Africa. And oftentimes nowadays, there's been a conversation around we should focus less on the story of engaging with the artist, but more on the feeling process, so as to help people navigate what they're feeling internally and bring that into the creative process, so that creating is not divorced from the self, the making, in service of the creative work. And as such, there cannot just be one way of making, creating, learning, and of doing. The idiosyncratic life worlds shape the unique communities who require their selves to be recognized and respected. And these differences call for embodied cognitions that serves the various selves. So it's with this in mind that I wanted, for us to begin to think about how we engage well-being as far as vocal, emotional, mental, and physical issues are concerned. And the literature indicates that performing artists, those of us who step onto stage or are part of the creative process, indicates that artists or performing artists secretes about so much adrenaline that is the equivalent of a head-on-head car collision. And sometimes in our practices or in our laboratories and in our studios, we pay so much attention on the subjective awarenesses of people. And what I mean by that is we allow people to express the emotions, but when it comes to putting the artists back together or giving them the tools to self-regulate, to develop their functional capacities in relation to themselves, we fall short. And this is not just in my earlier years of studying. This is also as far as curriculum development is concerned. This is as far as the methodologies that we work with is concerned. Although I must say in the last 5 to 6 years in South Africa, there's really been a concerted effort to think about somatics as a way of preparing the objective kind of, if I have to put it plainly, the biological, the psychophysical function of the body, the functional expressive elements of the body, so that when the actor is stepping or the artist is stepping onto stage, they can regulate the subjective orientations. So much so that there is always a continuous interrelationship between these two overlapping processes. If the actor does not understand how their biological systems work, it's very difficult for them to navigate all these other demands that the creative work is placing on them. And so it is from that vantage point that I say we need to call on a different actualization and mobilization of the embodied work that we use to help these embodied cognitions within the self, the actor, to help them as they're building creative work. And I draw here on the work of Bessel van der Kolk, who speaks about, the body is keeping the score. I also draw on the work of Blakesley and Blakesley, who says the body has a mind of its own. And then also just other embodied principles, large embodied principles. And why I bring this up is simply because we cannot assume that the body and the voice is not always already communicating. A body and a voice is always already communicating. And when we're encountering the students, we're always enhancing their potential or their expressivity for the service of art. And so once we work in the laboratory on the various functional and expressive elements of the act and really ensure that there is resilience within the functional capacities of the students, I believe then that we are setting them up to succeed instead of failing. And by failing, I mean simply to say that there's not an emotional implosion. There's not a reliance on other kinds of things, whatever you want to call that, a reliance on things that is external to the body to help them self-regulate their nervous systems and so on. So I believe that I don't know how I'm doing for time. I think just before I conclude, I believe that a student's unique profile and needs will indicate to us which explorations we need to draw, and from whichever approach we need to draw on to best serve the interest and the attendant needs of a student, the artist, or whomever the context is that we're working on. The various approaches that we are familiar with or have been trained in collaboration with oftentimes the teaching artist, the scholarly background, does develop critical skills, and we need to work with these skills in an embodied way to really help the artist realize their potential. So I see each person, each student, each artist that I work with, as I indicated already, as a fully communicative being enhanced in the service of art. In this way, and for me, I always aim to facilitate with an ethics of care, ensuring that people really understand what is the functional expressive abilities of their own bodies, understanding that there is a reliance, a really self-reliance on those abilities, and then facilitating the creative needs of the production or whatever the performance output is that I'm working in. And those for me always needs to be grounded in a pedagogy that is responsible, yet critical and responsive to the environment that I'm working on, so that we are not engaging in work that is culturally potentially harming and or colorblind, especially in this context that I'm working on. So for me, each individual that I work in is always a personal and unique manifestation of self. I work a lot as a theater maker, so I draw a lot on how people, the performers, the dancers, the musicians, in our cross collaborations, where they are as people, and not to reduce their senses of self, but to use their senses of self to strengthen the production or the work that we're working in. So I see it as my duty as a facilitator to steer the learning processes or the development processes by developing with clarity and ability to develop the awareness of the entire embodied process, the entire creative process. So for me, what is important and responsible in an ethics of care is to develop a self-reliance through a very specific, self-directed, somatic process that is embodied, where people rely on sensory awareness through directed discovery to help the students develop reliable sensoric abilities. Although many of the dynamics of function and expression have been learned, much of this seems to be and has to be experienced as being intuitive, pleasurable, instinctual, and tacit, or even sometimes allocentric in nature. I believe that in theater making, in acting, in voice, in movement, in singing, it is the role of the facilitator or the pedagogue to guide the artist in training, or the students in training, to access through experiential engagements these intuitive and reliable instinctive dynamics, so that these can be enhanced, deepened, made more resilient and accessible, and in time understood. Now, of course, when you're working under a time pressure, or you're working under a 4-week rehearsal process, and you need to have a creative process, then in my approach, you would need to cast or approach people that you know already have these kinds of skills. You either view that in an audition process, or you draw an artist, or you invite artists to the process that you know have these skills. So within such a situation, I cannot stay committed, for me, always to necessarily only one approach. But I need to always have and find an entry point, or what I call a familiar event, that will create the most optimal learning experience for the person that I'm working with. I believe that very often the body knows more than the mind does, to quote Blakesley and Blakesley here. And it is the responsibility of the director, and the facilitator or the teacher to read the bodies, to facilitate what they're seeing, and to offer the skills to the students or the people that they're working with. Each body has a history, and each voice has a history. And every creative and educational situation is different. All of these interplays and situations must be acknowledged within the teaching situation, at least in South Africa. The demands for performance differs, of course, across approaches, and the requirements and functions thereof also differ from project to project. So to bridge this uniqueness and individuality on the one hand, and the centrality of performance on the other, in my view, it is the role of the facilitator, the teacher, or the director who has to be steeped in a very clear understanding of how each and everybody functions optimally for the task at hand. Once this is in place, the next step is to select the processes that will allow these individuals that they work with to access their unique abilities in the service of the task at hand. So it is, in as much as we are promoting the vocal, emotional, physical, and mental health of the people that we work with, it's also the responsibility of the people who is leading the process to always lead this process with an ethics of care, where all needs are integrated and functionally allowed to be expressive. I will stop there. Thank you very much.
All right, Morne, thank you so much. You're just making me remember learning in UP. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm not in Nigeria anymore. Thank you so, so much. Yes. I'm sure people would have things to say to you. I'd like to ask you before, can you speak more about, do you know Laura Bond? Have you read about her concerning emotional body?
I'm aware of the work. I haven't read the book, but I'm aware of the emotional body
Okay.
work. So I am
Okay.
aware.
Yes. So
I'm aware.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm happy you said you've given us so much, and yes, I'd like you to touch on before because Kasope is involved with hygiene, consumption, and all of that. So I'd like, if you can, maybe while she's speaking, you can give us some points about healthcare for the voice, because
Okay.
some of the people that are on the platform that are supposed to be here are currently we have the paper that I shared with you, published with Taylor and Francis, is concerning the first year theater artists. So
Okay.
we have a new set of students now, and I wanted them to learn from this session on how to care for their voices and how not to misuse their voices, and what are the dangers of whatever external things they indulge in, or like substance or alcohol and all of that.
Thank you. I mean, thank you very much. Definitely, I will make some notes. I mean, I didn't tailor the presentation to be exclusively to voice, so I was just putting
Yes.
it in embodiment. But definitely, I will
Yes.
respond later on to
All right.
that.
Thank you so much. So now, Kasope, can you take the mic?
Hi everyone. Okay.
Hello, Kasope.
Hi. So I will just quickly run through some of the things I wanted to talk about. I was
We
just
can't see your beautiful face. You're very beautiful.
okay. Just give me a moment. I'll put on my screen. Sorry, I'm
Right.
looking. My camera is over here, but I have my screen over here. So if that's why I'm
Okay.
not looking directly at the camera.
It's okay.
Hello everyone. It's amazing to be on this platform. Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to present, I guess, what I prepared. I was trying to quickly just run through my slides before I joined the meeting, but I'll try and just go through everything to the best of my abilities. Let me just share my, I can't share. Attendees can't share.
No, you can, please.
Okay, it's saying host disabled attendees screen sharing.
Yeah, let me just I thought I added you as. Oh, sorry. So you have
Sorry,
to wait.
I've been dropping off and joining and dropping off
Oh,
because
so
my
that's what happened. Yeah. So
internet.
I think you can share now.
Okay. All right. So, okay, here we are. Just a moment, please. Okay, there we are. Okay, so I was just going to quickly talk through mental health and artist development because that's what I work in. I currently, just to go over what I do at the moment, I currently serve as label manager and A&R at a very small label in Lagos called MARS, stands for Mother Africa Reigns Supreme. I work with mostly development artists, left of center, like alternative artists. Bimbo has generously read my um, bio. Work with um, I work with artists that are alternative, neo soul, and so on and so forth. I've been working in music for about 3 years. 3 years in April, which I think is a huge. It's crazy to me because I feel like I've only just started and I'm very very new. But yeah, 3 years in April, I've been working in artist development. I've worked with about 3 artists in development so far. I have one that is currently who has been basically launched into the scene. His name is Braille, and then another one who we're just working on and will be releasing music in the next few months, and another that has been releasing music, but we're still just working on development. And then I also work as creative assistant to Wale Davis, who we already mentioned, manager to Thames and one half of Show Them Camp. So I also work on that artist team. And I work as creative coordinator at the Leading Vibe Initiative, which is an initiative that is dedicated to basically helping and empowering the next wave of incredible female talent across the continent. We actually just finished our another edition of the Leading Vibe Initiative in Johannesburg. So I was just in your country. So yeah, that's what I do. And I wanted to just talk about artist development as a concept because I feel like when you think of artist development, you often think of, okay, we're just building up a persona or we're just creating a product. But it's often very difficult to remember that, oh, this is actually an individual who has their own thoughts, their own feelings, and what they want from their career, from their music, how they want to express themselves. So it's not just a creative process, it's also an emotional, psychological, and personal process. And like dealing with the artists that I've dealt with, it's made me realize that it's more than just, okay, let's go to the studio, let's make music. It is a lot of conversation, a lot of more often than not emotional conversation of self-discovery and trying to understand basically who I am, what I want to represent as a person on stage and in my music. So basically, what artist development is at its root, at its core, is refining sound identity and both sonic and I guess visual direction, brand direction of an artist. So it's not creating something that doesn't already exist. We're not trying to make the artist into somebody who they aren't already, but it is discovering who this person is and as an individual. I think like rightfully so, we call musicians artists because what they are doing is actually creating art. And art is incredibly individualistic, even though it is also very relatable. Like when somebody looks at art, it should feel like this is something that I can see myself in, but it also has to feel like you should be able to recognize that this is not another person. So when we speak about an artist like Thames, when you hear her voice, when you see her her visuals, when you see her vibe, you can recognize that this is Thames. Or especially Thames has a very distinct voice and a very distinct way of songwriting. But at the same time, when you recognize that this is Thames, you still feel like, okay, yeah, I definitely relate with some of the lyrics in her music. It makes me feel something. So that's what basically artist development works to do. It's to kind of like unearth that individualistic but yet relatable part of who an artist is. So that's that about that. And then what's the process look like? It looks like studio experimentation. So what we do a lot of the time is we put our artists in studio with different producers. Those are like the people who basically make the music, obviously, make the beats, make the instrumentals that will go with the music, different instrumentalists as well. So just like people that can help kind of like form the vision. I work with a lot of artists who play instruments themselves. So lots of the time they've written their music on their own in their own private time. And so, trying to figure out how to place them in the right studio with the right person who will help them make their vision, while also remembering that it's artist development is not just about, doing what the artist wants to do, while that sounds safe and okay, but it's also about, putting them in position. There's a lot of deep ending. Like you just be like, okay, we're going to try something different today. But that's how people discover what makes them who they really are, by, trying different things. So there's also studio experimentation, working with different producers, feedback and conversation. So it's like, okay, you've made a song, like, how does this song make you feel? What are you trying to say with this song? Was the beats the right beats for this song? Like, do you want to try something different? So there's a lot of conversation. All my artists are my friends. So it's like we're constantly talking about music, about life. And that's how we're able to make this thing actually feel like a real experience for the audience. And then defining the sound, the look, the audience. So like, who is this music for? What is this artist's sonic sound? And like, it's not just something that we're like we're taking from another artist or another sound. Obviously, like, we are a combination of the different things that we have experienced as people, and music is definitely one of those things that we kind of, imbibe. But like, the music should always sound like you and not somebody else. So defining what that sound, what the sonics are, the look, which this is a very important aspect in today's day and age where there is so much social media and there's so much going on. The artist has to be presentable, both on screen and on stage. So what does the artist look like? What is the feeling? Obviously, we're not going to create somebody that just looks like somebody else, or we're not going to create a persona that just looks like somebody else. What does the artist truly, what's the word? What does the artist truly like relate with? Who are they really? So all these things connect both the music, the brand, the marketing, and the audience. And then the mental reality of this is that there's a lot of self-reflection involved in becoming an artist, in like being an artist in an ecosystem, and not just being by yourself and making your music. And there's a lot of self-reflection involved, a lot of vulnerability. So having somebody else critique your sound, like you've made a song you think is the best thing since sliced bread, and then your A&R comes and says, well, I think that the drum is too much, or I think that you need to belt this note, or you need to like tone it down here. So there is a lot of vulnerability that goes into that. And like, obviously, I believe that with arts and things, like, it's like your child. So it's like, at what point do you say, okay, you need to calm down, like, I think that this makes sense, or like, okay, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. So there's a lot of vulnerability involved. And then identity exploration, it's like, okay, I think that I am this person, but when it's time to, kind of like create that persona, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not this person. So it's like trying to figure out who are you truly. I'll give an example, like with styling for one of my artists, which is, I mean, these things are so minute, but also quite important in how an artist presents. in styling for one of my artists, it's like, okay, we went from him choosing pieces that when he now eventually wore them and we did a shoot, he was like, yeah, I don't think that I would ever wear this in my own personal life, and I'm not sure why I even chose to wear this outfit in the first place. So it's like, okay, I have to actually figure out, am I actually this person, or is it just because this thing was put in front of me and I have selected it? So there's a lot of that back and forth. There's one of my artists that's like super clean cut. He likes his slacks with like, dress shoes, button up shirts. He likes like a nice cardigan. Another one of my artists, like, if he could, he would be barefoot in all his videos. So it's figuring out, okay, who is who. We're not trying to create a like different versions of the same person. And in terms of Sonics as well, it's the same thing. So it's, self-exploration, vulnerability, self-reflection, all these things are difficult for us as just individuals, let alone people that are having to do these things in public, do these things in front of their labels and also in front of the world as well. I often think about the idea, sorry, I'm probably going over my time, but I have like one more or two more slides left. I often think about artists, like, I always use Thames as an example because I tend to work directly with her. But like, having people have different opinions about the way that she dresses, the way that she speaks, that can be an easy thing to carry. And I think it's a very important thing in development as well, to also be able to kind of like fortify your artists and prepare them for what is to come in terms of like the global stage and people having opinions about them. So yeah, that's one thing as well. Those are some things. Okay, I've already spoke about this. Yeah. Did I already speak about? Yeah, I think I did. Okay. So yeah, basically, I think I have touched most of the points. I had a bunch of other things that I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't able to fit them all into the slides and into the time. But I think if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So thank you so much for giving me your time and your ears. And I hope that I was able to, share some important things that would be useful to you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kasope. Quite insightful. We I don't know if the participants are listening. The Kasope is not a person in performing arts, and she's found her way here, and she's doing great things for the performing arts. She's a graduate of human nutrition. Yes, human nutrition, yes. So she's really doing great things for the performing arts world, especially in terms of their health. So it tells us how important the health of the actor or the performing artist, whether a dancer, musician, actor, whatever the person may be, there's so much that is put into it. And I'm happy that Dr. Olayokun Filippo was saying that there's so much put into it, but there's a blind side that the society is looking, the society is turning a blind eye to all that we performing artists go through. They don't see us as quite relevant, except for people like Kasope, who is in the medicine family. They make so much money. We don't get anything. Can you hear me, Kasope? Yes, yes, that's it. And there's so much you've shared this evening. This afternoon. We have students at the University of Ibadan. Every year we get a new set of students. We take them through training, but we don't put so much into what you are putting in because you are getting paid for it. We are getting paid, but we are teachers, and there's so little that we can concentrate on each person. And that's what Morne had said earlier, that the performing artist needs to learn to take care of the self. Even after embodying a new character or embodying characters, you should find a space where you rediscover, rejuvenate, redefine yourself and find that person, so that you don't get burnout, you don't get your mental state is not depleted, your emotional state is in top notch. Your vocal state is also good, and also your physical. I mean, students don't like to go through the physical aspect in the university. So I don't know about the performer outside, the people you engage with, because you do not engage with the students in higher education. You engage with professional people. So yes, but these are the amateurs. You're training people to be real professionals. Yes. So thank you, Dr. Ogunsanya. It's up to you. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello. All right.
Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very, very, very much. In fact, the title of the topic at hand is so inspiring to me. Having seen it, that at last, some people are looking at the health and well-being of musicians, which has been a source of a problem even to me, both as a teacher and as a musician, myself, practicing musician. Because in Africa here, or let me use Nigeria as case study, we face numerous challenges that can negatively, or that are even negatively impacting our mental well-being. These issues, to me, I feel they are combination of systemic, socioeconomic, and cultural factors. And so when I saw the topic, the title of the webinar, I was so elated that at least today we'll be able to talk about what has been worrying some of us as music teachers and as musicians. Because when I was even hearing Kasope, in my mind, I was thinking, how come this type of thing is not well known to majority of musicians? Maybe some aspect of the industry is learning about it or knows about it, but it is not a general knowledge. So generally, even to musicians themselves, or to musicians ourselves, let me not put myself there, we lack mental health awareness, because it is limited, it's not discussed all the time. The public actually believes that musicians are magicians. They expect them to do so much for so little. And when you talk about musicians, I'm talking about both art musicians and popular musicians. Art musicians are those ones that have gone to school to study music. And one of the problems that we have concerning those ones is that we expect them to know so much about music theory and rudiments and whatever, and techniques, but what they are supposed to have learned, I'm talking about Nigeria experience now, what they're supposed to have learned even in primary or secondary school, most of the time are what we are teaching them in the university. We start teaching, you won't believe in some schools, you start teaching lines and spaces, which people should have learned even in secondary or even primary schools. Those are and then when you want to study music, most times family, nucleus family, extended family, public generally do not respect someone who says he or she wants to study music. I remember in my case, when I said I want to start studying music, so one of my older aunts says, look, you, out of all these music studies, disciplines in the university, the only one you can see is music. That type of thing can put someone into a kind of complex, inferiority complex. It's as if someone who wants to study music is having a problem either with his brain or with his intellect, or like that. And so this type of thing, to me, is a welcome situation, which I believe should continue like that. Because if musicians don't even know, sometimes musicians don't even know they have problems, challenges, health-wise, because they work so much and then they get so little in return. What you will perform for like 5 minutes in an occasion, you will have rehearsed for 20, 40, 50, 60, uncountable hours. And at the end of the day, people will now judge you based on that 5 minutes performance. And another area that I feel musicians are having problem is the area of healthcare. There are so many healthcare issues that are bedeviling musicians or music practitioners, but most times we do not have easy access to areas or to practitioners or professionals who can actually deal with those problems that we have. Sometimes it might be emotional, it might be mental, but how will you say it when even the public that is engaging you does not understand what you are facing? And if you want to say something about it, you say, what, is it not music that you are performing? Is it not, especially when you are called for an engagement, they will now say, look, we won't pay you so much because you are going to perform for only 2 hours. Forgetting that 2 hours that you say you are going to perform, you have rehearsed for 20 hours. And then apart from that, music sometimes is not a solo performance. Even when they say solo, there will be some people who will see work with the music, just like the people like Kasope, who will be working in the background and who will be working with a particular musician. But at that point of performance, the public is not even aware that the performance has so many people behind working underground to sustain what he's doing. Apart from that, there's work-life imbalance also. Yeah, work-life imbalance is, music performance does not come regularly. You might get an engagement today. The next engagement might take maybe 2 or 3 weeks or months before you get another one that is very important or very good to you. But however, you need to take good care of your family and yourself. You need to, because once people know you as a music practitioner, they expect you to dress well, to eat well, to show off in public, which might not likely be like that at home. The economic problem is also there, which might be worrying the musician. And because of the level that he has also placed himself or herself, he will also it will make it difficult for him to maintain a healthy work-life balance, and it will impact on both physically and even mentally on him. Then there's this problem, like I said, about the cultural expectation from the musician by the public. In the areas where communities will expect or we think musicians are layabouts. For example, I remember the case of Inoka, the father of Okonkwo in Chino Achebe's Things Fall Apart. The man was a very good flautist, which people enjoy even in his community, but the likeness ends when he was performing. After that, he becomes known. I mean, they call him lazy person. In fact, we were told that at the end of the day, he was sent to the evil forest, and the only thing they gave him when he was going was his flute, because they believe he was a lazy person. When others are having harvest, he will not have. They were not counting the number of yam he has in his barn and also so on. Those are the type of things that have problems or add problems to the musician. Another area that we can look at is this type of substance abuse or usage, uncontrolled usage of substances, hard drugs and alcohol. Sometimes musicians engage in that in order to create confidence in themselves. However, we know that when things get too much, or it becomes addictive, and when the moment they turn to be addict, they cannot move away from it. We can remember the story of Majek Fashed. It was so popular in his time, but at the end of the day, he ended up being a wreck, having been involved in substance abuse, and that brought problem to his life. And another area practitioner is financial capability, instability, because shows, engagements, performances might not come regularly, and therefore it will have problem in its economy. Many musicians struggle due to limited opportunities, lack of fair compensation, especially when you go out to perform, because people undervalue you. They rate you based on the number of minutes or hours that you are going to perform, not wanting to believe that you have taken so much time in preparing for that performance or the engagement. And that is why sometimes musicians join together to form clique, as in the case of Fuji musicians that we have in Nigeria here. Fuji musicians, they believe the upcoming ones move closer to the popular ones, thinking if they move closer to them, they become known, and then they might from there get to be known too, which most time is not always true, because the person you are putting yourself as a subsidiary is also looking for ways of making money for himself. So he might not really have have time for you. Most times it then leads to enmity, as we have been seeing among those Fuji musicians in Nigeria here. So all these problems are the ones that are giving musicians, both practicing and even teaching, problem. For example, if you talk about being as a music teacher now, your students to have learned are those things that you are now starting to teach, even in tertiary institutions. That type of thing brings frustration to the teacher, because he will have been expecting so much, or he will have assumed that the students know so much, but unfortunately, the students will know next to nothing concerning music. In fact, in most schools now, in most tertiary institutions or schools of music in Nigeria, what we do now is we remove music as part of the examining subject in JAM, so that we can have more students, and then that, of course, at the end of the day, you just start from the beginning to teach them what to do. And so most of the time too, these students also see themselves as subsidiary to their colleagues in tertiary institutions, because when you want to leave home to go and study, what the community expects you to say you want to study will be either you want to become a medical doctor or a lawyer or an engineer and so on and so forth. But the moment you say music, you have problem with the society. And so this and all those things that I've mentioned are the areas that have been be very worrisome to musicians in order to make life better for them, either professionally or economically. I think I will stop now so that maybe as we go on now, we can continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ogunsanya. Yes, yes. What you have said is so true about the performing arts, but you put more emphasis on the music aspect of the performing arts because that's what concerns you, or that's what you're connected with. At this point, we'd like
that's my constituency.
yes, constituency, as my students would call it. Yes, it's constituency. Yes. So yes,
constituency.
yes, constituency. Yes. So it is nice what you have shared with us and the three panelists. And at this point, would like for us to have further interrogation on it, if time permits us. Morne, are you there? Do you want to shed more light? Yes. Morne, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes. So would like to hear more from you. You've heard from the Nigerian constituency. You've heard. Yes, you've heard from us here, and there's a neglect for the performing arts, and
Of course.
yes, I know it's not the same situation over there.
May I quickly share my screen?
Okay, please go ahead.
Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I mean, although my presentation, I don't know how much time do I have, like 5 minutes?
Probably, maybe 3-5. Yeah, but let's see what you can.
You wanted
Yeah, I
me
remember you talked about the object subject. That was
Right.
one of your projects, your funded project, right?
Yeah, it was
Something around this, yes.
some time ago, yeah. And I just wanted to say, because you wanted me to just briefly speak about the voice and health concerns.
Yes, because even Dr. Ogunsanya mentioned it that artists go into substance abuse for one reason or the other, yes.
Right.
So we're trying to see what can be done, how can we help these young ones not to get to that point.
Exactly. Okay. So first and foremost, what I wanted to say is the reason why I'm bringing up these slides is just to say to everybody listening is that I consider the human voice to be a psychosomatic phenomena. And what that means is the voice is your body and the body is your voice. The voice is inside of the body, and whatever happens to the body and whatever happens in your mind is illuminated or manifested through the voice. It's a psychosomatic phenomena. It is not divorced from what happens to your body, is not divorced from what happens to your psyche. And so when we're talking about the voice as object and subject, it is this dynamic interrelationship that needs to be taken care of. So first and foremost, I think a lot of the times when people think about the voice is that they think, okay, my body is there, my voice is here, I'm going to slap these two things together. It doesn't work like that. It is one unit and is expressed as one unit. So with that said, I can stop sharing the screen. Yeah. Okay, with that said, just some general things, I think, with regards to usually in speech pathology, right? When do we know a voice is beginning to sound not so healthy? And the most common issues is usually around, has my voice become hoarse or raspy? But there are some, obviously for every rule, there's always an exception. There's an exception here as well. Have I lost the ability to maintain some of the higher notes in singing or access the full range of the voice, the lower notes and the higher notes when I'm speaking? Does your voice suddenly appear very deep and just uncomfortably so? Or there's a break in the voice in particular when you're singing, for those of you who are musicians, is there a loss of the passaggio in the voice? Or does your voice feel raw, achy, or strained? And also, has it become effortful to speak? And I think a last one that is often very common in vocal hygiene is, do you frequently feel the need to clear your throat? And for a lot of these concerns, it can be that there is an underlying condition. You know, it might be that there is something physically going on with the vocal folds. It could be that there is something going on psychologically, as some of the speakers have already said. And never underestimate the psychological impact on the human voice. Especially when you're feeling very emotional, the voice can also have fluctuations. But for some of the things, some of the questions I've raised above, it is probably useful if you can and you have access to. I think I want to say that very carefully, because very few artists, most certainly in South Africa, has regular access to healthcare professionals. But if you're at a university and you have linkages between speech pathology and audiology, sometimes they will take students in to do a screening where you can speak to a laryngologist or a audiologist to just do a basic screening for you. So sometimes, you know, what causes these issues is it could be an upper respiratory infection. It could be because of seasonal changes. It could be inflammation caused by gastroesophageal reflux. You know, like there's acid reflux from the stomach into the esophagus. It could be you could have a hernia where the diaphragm and the stomach meets. There could be a hernia, a hiatal hernia, and as a result, there's inflammation in the stomach, and the hernia gets stuck between the space in the diaphragm, and as a result, you feel like you can't breathe. Those are the issues that you need to seek professional help for. But heartburn or GERD, as it's commonly used. Then a contentious issue, because this gets into like cultural or cultural specific things, is like the use and the misuse of the voice, or overuse of the voice. Because certainly in South Africa, there's certain practices where we have insomies or imbongis, and you know, that's a spiritual practice. And oftentimes, when you're an insomi worth your salt, you have to really work with those oral poetries until the voice disappears. So, and there's been a lot of research around how to navigate around that, but there is also that interplay. Of course, what causes these issues, another issue that causes these commonly is there's growths on the vocal folds, such as vocal nodules or vocal polyps. Sometimes when you drink a lot of alcohol, you don't sleep a lot, you have to sleep a lot, there's not significant hydration. And then there's little blood blisters that develop on the vocal folds. You will know immediately when you have them. It's incredibly sore. And with vocal nodules, commonly you lose power. And some of the more serious conditions is cancer of the larynx. I think for our conversation today is also the idea of psychological trauma, which usually links to emotional trauma, could be related to anxiety around financial stress. It could be whatever the characteristics or the definitions of your anxiety is. And then I think just maybe before I pause here is healthy habits to take care of your voice. There are lots. There's like oftentimes ethnobotanical approaches to this as well, which you will have to navigate with your vocal coaches or your teachers in your area, or send an email to people that you find on reliable sources. But most commonly, the human voice is made out of 3 layers of mucose. It is a mucose layer organ. It's a muscle. It needs mucose require water. Drink plenty of water. Lots of water, especially if you exercise regularly. If you drink decaffeinated beverages like alcohol, make sure that you balance the intake of your water, especially coffee and caffeinated teas as well. And then I think something we take for granted is the idea of vocal naps. Rest the voice as often as you can throughout the day, but also develop a practice to strengthen the voice and work with sensory awareness, as opposed to simply, and I know there's musicians who's going to come for me on this one, do not only rely on your ears when you train your voice, also rely on sensing the voice forward onto your teeth, your nose bone, your heart palate. A resonant voice is an easy voice that you can feel forward on any hard surface of the face. That's a good, focused, resonant voice. You know you're giving good quality voice. If you have access to it and you're in drier climates in the world, use a humidifier, steam regularly, and then try to avoid medication that dry out the vocal folds. Again, you will know immediately when the vocal folds are dry. You will feel that. Yeah, and don't smoke too much. Smoking irritates the vocal folds. It is a mucous layer, so the smoking dries out the vocal folds. And then I think within the context of Nigeria, eating too much spicy food is a contentious subject that I'll just leave alone. And I'll leave that in the capable hands of Abimbola to talk more about that. And get enough rest. Exercise regularly, drink lots of water. Yeah, I'll leave it there. If there's any other questions beyond those like practical tips, I'm happy to engage further.
Thank you so much, Morne. Well, I disagree with you with the spicy food.
Of course
and
you do.
spicy thing. Yeah, because it's
of course.
good. I mean,
It is.
yes. What's her name? Estefania. While we were in the US for the workshop, she was not a spicy person, but she said she was going to try
Yeah.
what I brought to the US then called kilishi. And when she took it, when she was doing the post recording, her voice was very nice.
I mean, I don't
And
know what
you're supposed to keep away from spicy food throughout the week.
No, I understand what that's why I said it's a contentious one and it works for some, it doesn't work for others. For example, for me, because I have a hiatal hernia, if I take too much spicy food, I lose my voice entirely, like entirely. So
All right.
up for
Okay.
debate.
I mean, it's
It's up
our
for debate.
culture, but this is a cultural thing.
Of
It's
course,
a cultural thing. Yes.
of course. That's why I said
Too much spicy food not good. But there are some people that cannot cook with. Look at he said it depends on the condition of. Yeah, some people have the habanero peppers.
exactly.
Those small peppers. There are people who cook like say 30 or 50 of it with 4 tomatoes. Yes. So tell me.
Right. But this is why I said in the initial presentation, personal uniqueness is important, right?
Yes.
Context-specific relationalities are important. I'm not saying that
Good.
applies.
Yes.
I know
good.
you get very
But
passionate about this one, though. I know that.
yes, I'm passionate about that. I mean, I don't like, how would I be in a country, nothing spicy for the duration of my training?
I know.
Am I okay, or is there something wrong with me? Yes. So, but it's so good that we are able to talk about the vocal, emotional, mental, and physical wellness of the performing artists. And to say that we need to continue to revisit this aspect, like you mentioned about the vocal fold and the vocal tract and the mucous nature that it is, and I've done lots of study with mice, giving them what we give to, look for a person, what do you take? So the mice is on that remedy. I mean, that's food for a duration. And afterwards, the mice is, you have to sacrifice the mice. And then we extract the vocal fold and we see what's happened to the muscles there. So we've used that to understand so many aspects of the voice, and we continue to investigate this. And it's nice to know that you are talking about the vamp of performing artists, same thing with Kasope, but also looking at their psychological states. Yes, is something for concern. I have the first year student with me, Yes. Okay. All right. So yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me leave it to others to engage with. That's what Filippo is telling me. Filippo, I'm sorry I got carried away.
Yeah,
All
so I
right.
have to call you back. I know you guys, this is your territory, but for instance, Professor Samuel could also make some contributions I mean, our hand has been up,
Oh my.
regarding, for instance, yes, regarding care for the vocal aspects of
Cool.
the body, And she's also from a family of musicians anyway. So her son is a producer, I'm married to and a professor of music. So I think she has something valuable to share with us. Professor Olayomi also joined us, and he also teaches music in Ibadan. Yeah. So we'd love to hear from them as well. Thank you.
All
Professor
right. So
Samuel.
yes,
Yeah.
it's over to you, man.
Thank you very much, Dr. Phil, and thank you, Madam. Um, in the next 2 minutes, I just want to share some things, not necessarily about the vocal cords issue. When we talk about performing artists, that issue that continues to stand out is this relative neglect of their health and well-being, and it's across all socioeconomic levels, whether they are rich performers or those that are on the way to wealth. Too often the artist is celebrated for output, for performance, their applause, their attention. But we don't consider their body and their mind. So I was really excited to hear from the scholar from South Africa when he stressed that the artist and her body are one and the same, and that the body is not separate from the art. So if that body is the very instrument through which art is created and expressed, then we have to take care of that body. So, and within that neglect, that wider neglect of health, nutrition, where I belong, is a very important area that is always overlooked. And it's very striking because food and eating is a daily affair. Give us this day our daily bread. So we don't always think seriously about what it means for the performing artist whose body is constantly working, you know. So I think we can look back into the traditional Yoruba society, for example, and we see that performers were not just admired for their talent and left to struggle on their own. During major festivals, I know that the communities provided structured and abundant meals, nutritious meals. And it was not just about feeding them, it was a cultural system of sustaining this labor of the artists. And the other thing that traditional practice also did was to recognize herbal mixtures, leafy vegetables, to support their recovery and endurance after all this long-term performance. So nutrition was not separated from performance in those days. It was really part of the social and cultural ecology. Now, if we compare it to what we see today, we see that that support system is either not there or it has weakened significantly. The performing artists, they deal with irregular eating patterns, long rehearsal hours, stressful travel schedules. I can't say it all because you are in it. But I'm very passionate about it because my family also depends on this. And I see how much they are neglected. So I believe that we can begin to think about artist welfare more holistically. Specifically, they need nutrition education that speaks directly to the realities of their performance, not the general nutrition education for the life cycle approach, the one that is tailored for the reality of the creative industry. We also need research, that recognizes performing artists as a group with unique nutritional demands. And I also must say that we have to place more emphasis on self care. Performing artists, if nobody takes care of you, you have to take care of yourself you know. So at this point, I would like to give a special thumbs up to Kasope. She's my professional colleague. She now beautifully straddles both the performing world and the health space. And I think that kind of bridge is exactly what this conversation needs. Self-care, self-care. Artists need practical knowledge on how to eat well, how they need to stay hydrated, how they need to rest, manage stress, and build habits that will sustain their body and their mind. So, and I think it should not only stop with producers. There are some people at the backstage, like my son, producer, mixer, sound engineers. They sit for long hours. They have prolonged screen time. I mean, their posture is suffering. All of these things. I don't see how we are raising awareness about it and how we are really pushing for performing artists to take care of themselves. So I'll end on, extending a handshake to the Department of Theatre Arts, Human Kinetics, and co. Let's come together. Let's do research that can understand the space where you work and the nutritional needs, how we can help them with physical activity, so that the community will not just value their performance, they will value the well-being of the performer. Let me stop here because I'm getting very, very passionate about this. Thank you.
Well, that's the goal of this webinar, for us to be passionate about what we're talking about. Thank you so much, Ma. I've always looked forward to collaborations, especially with our first-year theater artists. Yes, Kasope, we need you to shed more light on things, and also Morne. So, Ma, I would really like to collaborate with you. That's my own strong point. Collaborations. Yes. Thank you, Ma. Yes, Morne?
Yeah, if I could just quickly comment on the issue of the efforts in South Africa to support artists. Well, if I listen to especially the colleague from music, what he was talking about and how difficult it is for artists to sustain themselves, it is a similar situation in South Africa where there isn't at the moment any legislation or regulation around helping artists to get royalty for the work that they do. In particular, because so many artists die, unfortunately, poor once they hit a certain age of beginning in their 50s and the work begin to dry up, they live a horrible life. And oftentimes they live, and recently very famous artists, 3 of them died, and this is not my words, but died begging, to just have ability to sustain themselves. So it is a really incredibly dire situation, and there's a huge concerted effort from the South African Guild of Actors in South Africa to have the government legislate a white paper to help the artists sustain themselves from an economic point of view. So it's a really difficult and complex socio-political issue in South Africa that is not different from what I've heard from many of the people sharing today. Of course, there are also those success stories where artists are incredibly successful, but that is about 5% of many of the artists in South Africa. And of course, then our feeder scheme that I would call is like our universities taking, like you've said, Abimbola, in the beginning, our universities taking students and keep on feeding these into the industry, but there isn't enough jobs to really sustain these students and give them employment. And so it is a really dire and difficult and complex situation in the country, although oftentimes the media portrays it as something that is quite thriving. But I think in Nigeria, you have Nollywood and all those wonderful other avenues that South Africa does not have. I don't know what's the state and all of that. I can't comment on that. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
All right, thank you. Well, that's one of the that's one of the SDG sustainability for the performing arts. Yes. So we are working on it. Yes, Dr. Ogunsanya, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm here.
Filippo put something for you to react to.
Yes, he's talking about the substance abuse.
Yes.
Really, for young musicians in Nigeria, for young practitioners in Nigeria, possibly maybe not musicians alone, but especially for musicians, sometimes the problem comes from their mentor or the musicians that they look up to. For example, anyone that wants to be good in Afrobeat, Fela's Afrobeat now, we want to do whatever Fela has done. And we know Fela
and we want to go into hard drugs and all of that.
Especially Igbo smoking, marijuana smoking, which Fela called Nigerian national grass. So they will go into that. anyone that wants to go into hip hop and is choosing there's a musician here, Portable, as his
Yeah.
mentor, will also behave like mentor. And so we have so many of these upcoming musicians trying to behave like their idols. And that is why we have this problem of substance abuse. However, if these upcoming musicians can sit down and actually do all those things that Morne has talked about, and also look for people like Kasope, if possible, then I'm sure we'll not be able to go into all those things, because performing arts generally is a very time-consuming uh, discipline, or which I say a very jealous discipline that does not even want you to go into something else. So if you can concentrate and focus on your art, you don't need this thing to bolster your confidence, even on stage. By the time you do your rehearsals very well, you are well prepared, and you go on stage, of course, you can perform even without any substance or any drug or anything to assist you. But then, how do we now tell them? Because they will have gone into whatever they want to go into before coming out to public for performance. So that's it. And then even on cigarettes, it is written, smokers are liable to die young, but people still smoke, because when you go into Nollywood, the film that you see your best actors smoking on stage, and then you want to emulate what he's doing. That is the problem that we have with the youth nowadays, not only musicians or performing artists, but generally with the youth. But if we can have them go into a very good school of performing arts, I don't want to say whether music or theater arts or any other performing art or even dance, and they are tutored there, and they pay attention to all the techniques and the rubrics of their art, I'm sure they do not need to go into substance abuse in order to make it in their profession. Another thing is, if the teachers too, or the mentor or the trainer must also be able to explain life to them, and they see the left and right, or the right and wrong of what they are engaging in, I'm sure they will also move off the wrong areas and go into the right ones in order to make their life better for them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Professor Oloriyomi, would like to have your
Kasope's
thoughts.
hand has been up. Kasope's hand has been up.
Oh, Kasope, okay. We can hear you, Kasope.
Okay, sorry, I noticed that there was a question for me in the comment section. I also wanted to kind of go off of what Dr. Ogunsanya said about substance abuse and influence. I think, like he said, like, you know, the people that they look up to have done these things, and they think that that's what you need to do in order to be a performer. But I think if you are around the right crop of people, your behavior will reflect that. I work with different types of artists. I've said, like, some of my artists, they don't even drink cold water. That's how serious they are with their voice. Like, they don't even drink cold water. It's to that point. But I have artists too that smoke cigarettes and, you know, drink a lot. But I can see the difference between, like, when they joined us and now that they've been with us for a couple years. They will say things like, okay, I'm taking a break, or I'm not smoking, I'm trying to stop smoking and everything, because of the type of environment that they are in. They're around older people who don't engage in those types of activity. So influence is definitely a big thing. It's having mentors and people in the entertainment space that don't feel like, oh, this is what I need to be able to perform. You know, having those people around you that are very successful in their field and don't engage in all these negative activities that can be negative on their bodies and their voices. So definitely, I 100% agree with Dr. Ogunsanya on that point. I think influence is so important, and also having open conversations. Obviously, we're not just going out and saying, "Oh, you stop smoking." It's okay, like just for the sake of your voice. You're recording tomorrow, don't smoke today. You're recording tomorrow, don't drink. Or you're performing tomorrow, like lay off the cigarette. So it's it's coming from an angle of something that they truly love and care for, which is the art and their music. So we want you to be able to perform at your best capacity. So let's figure out a way to make this work. And we also care very deeply about you. So please, I beg, don't smoke as frequently, or try and lay it off. So those are the type of conversations that we're trying to have. And it's even without us talking, sometimes we're seeing differences in behavior. So I think, yeah, definitely influence is an important thing. Then to answer the question about branding and identity, it's like Dr. Philip has said, it's quite complex. And an artist is obviously a human being, and we as human beings, even outside of the public eye, we change our minds about things all the time. But I think consistency is super important. Some of our audience might be like, okay, yeah, I'll stick with you through all your crazy. Maybe today you've decided that you want to be making house music, or you want to be making Afrobeat, and tomorrow you want to start doing a whole different genre. Maybe you want to change to R&B or whatever. Like, some people will stick with you through those types of changes, but a lot of the time there's a chance that your audience will fall off and everything. That's not to say that you cannot change your identity, or you cannot change anything about yourself just because you're an artist. That there is that. But I guess if it's very difficult to juggle several brands like concurrently, you have to also think about the financial aspect of it, because as you are building brands where money is being spent in the industry, money is constantly being spent. So if you've decided you want to be, take for example now, Rema was doing like this cute boy vibe for a while. He had this teddy bear, and everything was yellow, and his cover art were all like illustrations and all these things. But it was very cute, very innocent for a while. And then now he's gone off to this dark opium. He's wearing leather trousers, smoking cigarettes, and everything is dark now. Imagine if we were trying to juggle those two, or a label had the job of trying to juggle those two brands concurrently. I believe that a lot of money would have been wasted, because brands come with assets. So you're dealing with graphic designers, you're building out actual physical merchandise, things like that. So like a lot of money goes into it. It just isn't practical in any way to try and build two brands concurrently. So I would say that you have to choose what you're doing per time, and also like don't jar your audience by being one person today and another person tomorrow and everything. So that's my notes on managing multiple brands. Obviously, within a label ecosystem, we have to manage multiple brands because our artists are all different people. But I would even say that like our label signs similar types of artists, so we're not too far off in any case. All our artists are incredible live performers, so we can say, okay, we're going to do a live show, and that's what we're going to spend our money on, so that we can showcase our artists. So it's also and I guess in a way, things even within a label system should be kind of streamlined in a way that makes sense financially as well. And then I was going to speak about education as well. A couple of people have spoken about artists who basically have had a great run at a point, and then after some time they're not doing very well. I think it's incredibly important, especially right now, because eyes are on Africa, and for a long time, even in the last few years in the music industry, money was being constantly pumped into the industry because of the likes of Burna Boy, Davido, and Wizkid, all the people that are having global hits. I remember having global hits at a point. It was like, okay, you know what? The West was pumping crazy money, ridiculous money into the music industry. It has significantly reduced, as of right now, but still there is quite a bit of money floating around in the industry. I think education is very, very important at this point for artists to know that, okay, somebody has given you an advance. What does that mean? Like, what is the implication? What how much of it do you have to recoup? What do you have to do to be able to to continue to hold leverage? How can you, even as an independent artist, build leverage? How can my hard work be seen by other people? How can I contact the people that this thing means something to, so that I can also be a player in all the money that is floating around? How can I also get a hand on it? And also, how can I invest? How can I, do better for myself as an individual and not just as an artist? So I will always use Thames as an example. Thames recently purchased a football club in America. That's a huge investment. That's somebody that is thinking ahead and thinking, what can I do to to better myself and keep like this money around me, so that at some point I'll now be when I'm not hot anymore, I don't have no money anymore. So it's also important to think about, like, education and having the right people around you in the industry is super important, so that you're not in a position where you're wondering, okay, where is the next meal going to come from? And I would say that, like, when I first started working in the industry, I'm very grateful for my boss who financed I was able to do a course on music business. It was called MBA for Africa. So Music Business Academy for Africa. It's run by a music business executive called Godwin Tom. So I feel like that's a course that anybody that is even an artist in the music business, artist, manager, executive, anybody that wants to have a grasp of the music industry at a surface level, because at the end of the day it is through it's through practice that you'll be able to actually figure some of these things out. But just it gives you basic knowledge um of um of legal matters, of different ways of making money. Like, okay, the music is split into the master, the composition, and these two things. The master makes you money in a way, the composition also, that's publishing. There are different ways of making of making um money. So the course has now been, the name has changed to Creative Business Academy for Africa. So it's called CBA now. I did it in 2023. So it has evolved, and right now they have courses for videography, photography, styling. Like they've built out a whole ecosystem that is able to feed the music industry, basically. So I'll definitely share the link to the course here, but I think it's a very important thing. I think they do taster courses as well ahead of the actual course, like when it's actually running. I think it ran for 9 months when I did it. So yeah, I think education is super, super, super important. It makes you move with confidence, and there are people that are incredibly talented but can't reach the peaks that they want to, just because they don't have the education they need to. The Bible says, my people suffer for lack of knowledge. So literally, that is what this situation is for a lot of people. They just don't know. So I will share the course on the chat. And okay, Mr. Philip has shared. So yeah, those are the things I just wanted to quickly touch on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kasope. I still want Professor Lauren Yomi to speak. Thank you so much. I'd like to say something that, the people I engage with, the performing artists that I engage with are university people or students, and there is the lifestyle habits like Kasope and Morne spoke about, and also Dr. Ogunsanya spoke about. There's this lifestyle habits, a student living, or a person leaving the family, leaving home, coming to stay in the university. There's independence, and there's freedom. But sometimes the freedom gets so much for these people in performing arts, in theater arts. So there's that need to want to feel among by drinking, smoking, indulging in things that are not healthy for their vocal wellness, their emotional wellness, their mental wellness, and also their physical fitness. So I don't know if there's any person who would like to shed more light on that, because what I've been doing in the past 6 years is to measure these students each session. So when they come in as new students, we would monitor what they eat, what they drink, what they take excessively, what lifestyle they indulge in that was not what they used to do. Some would say it's out of the training that they are going through that makes them indulge in such lifestyle habits. But well, education, they're in school learning. So I don't know whether education would be maybe orientation for them. Kasope, would you say that, to reorientate them on what to do and how to do it, and not to do it in moderation, I'd say. Thank you. Professor Lauren Yomi, I'm still waiting to hear your handsome voice, if you're there. All right. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Let's see.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think we need to unmute him. Yeah.
Oh, did you mute him?
Yeah, I'm not sure just anyone can unmute, but no, I think he can. Prof, you
Okay.
can unmute yourself if
Okay, but this webinar is quite insightful. I'm happy. I'm learning so much from all quarters. It's not just me feeling that's concerned. There are lots of people concerned, and yes, we hope that there will be changes from our little quarters. All right, Filippo, anybody wants to say again? Otherwise, want to say?
yeah, if there's anyone from the audience who still want to say something, we can take one or two more comments, then we'll just wrap up if there's none. But I think just to hold the fort before anyone signifies, it's been very enriching and engaging, but we hope that this is going to be a first step in making interventions in this creative space, which is often concentrated on superstars and managing them, and also building brands and stuff like that. But we don't forget that we're also trying to look at those who are at the background, including those who manage them as well. You know, we take these things for granted because these people are not also in the spotlight. There's the challenge of work-life balance that, like has been said, you know, by several of our panelists, even those within the family of performers, you know, how do they help them manage these challenges, for instance, of addiction, you know, beyond those who you think are bad influence, let's say mentors and those within the industry. What other peer pressure or what other influence are these artists subjected to from the outside, even within families? You know, you're married, you want to go home to your kids, you want to rest, but you have also some of these challenges at home that is not even allowed, that is affecting your performance and also affecting your mental well-being. So I think we need to also focus a bit more on the environment beyond the place or the localities of performance and practice, you know, to other environments that affect their being as human, you know, stuff like that. So that also came to mind, and I thought to just share with us. In any case, perhaps we just give our panelists 5 minutes, 2 minutes to give us their last word. Then we'll just end the session. Dr. Adesina, please.
Yes. So yes, I'd like first to let Dr. Ogunsanya speak. Your last word for us, and this is the first of its kind. We like Dr. Olayoku said, so we're having more.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really happy that I participated in this first one. and
Thank
it's
you.
been a very informative session for me,
Thank you.
especially concerning what Kasope said. In fact, I will use this opportunity to plead with Kasope that she finds time to come to our, how did Paul say it in the Bible? Come to Macedonia to assist us. So we want Kasope to find time, if possible, to come or to pay us a visit, either virtually or physically, at our department, to come and talk to our students concerning this area that she is engaged in. That's an area of
Yeah.
artist management. I
Yes.
have been a lot, and I'm sure our students will gain more because these things are actually for them. And with this, maybe we might be able to now reorientate them and make them be focused in the right direction. And I also hope that this type of webinar will go further to the extent that it will reach the eyes and the ears of government in Nigeria to know the right way to go about putting the music industry or performing industry into proper perspective so as to help both the tutors and the people under them. Thank you very
The
much.
trainees.
Yeah, the trainees,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Kasope. Kasope, look at your now hot cake, eh? Kasope, look at in music. Your daddy's department is calling you. When you want to come, when you're coming to music department, just shine your eyes. Don't blink and get everything that you can from them. Okay? Yeah, because you're coming to, yes, Kashokwe, my students, yes, on yes, this, but now to be serious with you, Kashokwe, the first year student in my department, we do what we call initiation. Are you there, Kashokwe?
Yes, I am. Sorry, my
All right,
internet
so
very well, so I missed quite a bit of that conversation, but I'm here.
okay, yeah, so yes, I'm saying that Dr. Ogunsanya would like you to come and talk to the music department. There are two performing arts departments in UI, music
Yeah.
and theater arts. So he
Yes,
would
yes.
like you to come and speak to the music student concerning the performing arts management. I'd
Okay.
also like you to come and, I don't know when you'll be in Ibadan. Our first year students have their initiation coming up in May, I think 2nd of May.
Okay.
So they're in training right now. I'd like you to come and speak with them concerning this lifestyle habit that many of them already have indulged in or are planning to indulge in, for their
Mm.
future. I wish Morne was in Ibadan to come and speak to them too. But we can also have Morne, we're going to have a virtual session with you, with my first year student. Yes, so you get it. So, yes, thank you so
Okay.
much. So, Kashokpa, we want your thoughts in 2
Okay.
minutes on, yes, just a recap of everything
Okay.
that you
Thank
have
you so much
said.
for your time, everyone. And obviously, I would definitely love to help in any way and come down to Ibadan to come and speak to to the students. I think basically, in artist development and just becoming an artist is very important to prioritize yourself and your mental health. Don't become somebody that you think the world wants you to become just because you want to blow. I think that's one of the most important things. Stay true to yourself. Authenticity sells. Authenticity is what is sustainable. Don't take up habits that will eventually, lead you down a bad path, and stay around people who influence you positively. I think those are my basic notes about everything, and educate yourself as much as possible. There's information everywhere. I have like at least, and I will share in the chat as well. I have about 5 or 6 music business podcasts that I listen to regularly. People are sharing their experiences, what they've gone through as artists, as artist managers, as industry executives, and people have the good thing about all these things that people, what you're doing is not something that people have not done before. So people have gone before you. It's very important to make use of that information that is all over the internet about music and about music business. Some of it is extremely boring. I won't lie. Like, it's not all exciting and enjoyment. Like something like publishing, I'm still like, trying to fully understand all these different things. But it's very important to educate yourself where you can, because you make way more money and you're more comfortable, more confident in rooms when you know what you're talking about. So I will also share like podcasts. I see that the CBA link has already been shared. That's a very important um, place where you can get a lot of information. But I'll also share some free links basically that would explain different music business and I think entertainment concepts that would be very useful for students and anyone who just wants to know about what's going on in the music business. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you too for being on this webinar with us. Yes, Morne, are you there? Morne, I hope you have not gone to eat my jollof rice.
Don't start that conversation on Zoom. Then people will really see how we can differ. No, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I thank you to you, Abimbola, for organizing this, and thank you to everybody who shared so generously. I think there's a wonderful generosity of spirit, and I hope this, like you said, is the beginning of many, many conversations that can. I think that from where I am, the exciting part of this is that I hope that we can get more people from South Africa, from other parts of Africa involved in this conversation, so that there is more sharing across the continent. So yeah, from my side is remember the body and the voice is connected, the body mind is connected. All of these things have an impact on one another. And at the end of the day, it's one thing that we all need to take care of. Thank you again, everybody, and I hope to join the future iterations of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morne. And over to you, Dr. Filippo.
Yeah, just to say thank you to everyone for joining us, our panelists, Morne, Dr. Ogunsanya, Kasope, for sharing your wealth of experience and time with us. We're really very grateful and appreciate it on behalf of the West African Transitional Justice Center and, of course, founder of Theatre Arts University of Ibadan. We'll take you up on it, Morne, that we're going to do a joint and collaborative event between South Africa and Nigeria. Yeah, it's not always about competition, about who has light and generator or who is winning the Africa Cup of Nations. Let's try to also look at what joins us together. The Amapiano thing, Amapiano versus Afrobeat. Let's bring them together in conversation, and I think we should work together to bring something else and make it as robust, as possible. I'll keep the conversation going until we're able to get something concrete and organic from our own context, that will help our performing artists to maximize their potential. So thank you everyone for joining us. And we're grateful. Of course, the expert moderation by Dr. Stephen-Adesina too is well appreciated. And we thank Professor Sam, Professor Loyan for joining us, Mr. Yemi Apere, Dr. Kala Simon, everyone on the call, Dr. Chidozie. We are happy to have all of you here and the students that joined us as well. And we look forward that you join us in subsequent editions. Actually, we had a fuller house. I mean, looking at the registration, we have over 40 persons registered. So people have just been popping in and going out. But we need to make this, an important conversation that people can listen to. And we look forward to holding subsequent editions. Thank you very much. And all the very best for the rest of the day, wherever you are at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Yeah, so it's bye from my end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.